This happened last summer. I was 32 and stuck in a creative slump. As a freelance graphic designer, I sought inspiration in galleries. One evening, I stumbled upon an abandoned gallery on a quiet street. It was dusty and dark but held a strange charm. I didn't think much of it then, but I can't shake what happened. I found a corner, set up my sketchbook, and began to draw. The silence wrapped around me, broken only by my pencil scratching the paper. As the night went on, the stillness felt heavy. Then I heard a soft laugh from the back. My heart raced, and I froze. I thought my mind was playing tricks. After all, I was alone in a dark place filled with forgotten art. But that laugh lingered like a ghost. I brushed it off but returned the following week, hoping for inspiration. The laugh was louder, almost inviting. I felt myself drawn in, like a moth to a flame. It was unsettling. I mean, who wouldn't feel uneasy in an empty gallery? I kept going back night after night. Each visit pulled me deeper into this strange spell. While sketching, I could almost see a painter, a wild man, splashing colors onto canvases. His laugh echoed in my mind, and I started doubting my sanity. Sometimes, paint spilled near me when I was alone. The lights flickered, sending shadows dancing on the walls. It felt like the gallery was breathing. One evening, I approached a canvas leaning against the wall. It was unsettling. The colors were vibrant but chaotic. The laugh seemed to come from the canvas itself. I stood frozen, a chill creeping up my spine. Was this real? My sketchbook had changed. My drawings looked darker. Characters were twisted, unlike anything I'd drawn before. I had to know the story of the painter. Maybe he had left a masterpiece hidden there. But each return felt like I was opening a door to something I didn't want to face. Was the gallery sparking my creativity or unleashing something darker? Then one night, I decided to leave after hours of sketching. I was gathering my things when the laughter rang out again. This time, it was close. My stomach dropped, and I turned around. The gallery was empty. Just me and the eerie laughter that seemed to know my name. I stepped back, heart pounding. I stumbled over my sketchbook and dropped it. The pages fluttered open, revealing sketches I didn't recognize. The faces were distorted, grinning wickedly. Was I slipping into madness? I suddenly felt eyes on me, though I was utterly alone. The laughter morphed into a cacophony that wrapped around me, pulling me in. I backed away slowly, not daring to turn my back. As I reached the door, that laughter echoed louder, vibrating through the walls. I bolted outside into the night air, gasping. I couldn't shake the feeling that the gallery was still watching me, waiting for my return. I didn't plan to go back, but somehow, I knew the pull wasn't over. The next morning, I awoke with an uneasy feeling. The faint echoes of laughter still danced in my head. I hadn't drawn a single line since I fled the gallery, and I felt the creative block tighten like a noose. Ignoring it, I went through my day, but nothing felt right. I couldn't focus. Every mundane task felt heavy, like dragging my feet through sand. By the afternoon, my curiosity drew me back. I knew I should resist, but something inside me itched to go back. I needed to understand, was I tortured or inspired? I arrived at the gallery just as the sun dipped low, casting eerie shadows on the cracked walls. The door creaked open, revealing the familiar darkness. Hesitantly, I stepped in, the air thick with dust and unanswered questions. It was quiet. No laughter. But the absence of it was unnerving. I made my way over to the wall where the chaotic canvas had leaned. It was gone. Panic clawed at my chest. Had someone taken it? Each second felt like an eternity. Then, in the dim light, I noticed a flicker across the floor. There, in the corner, was a small door partially ajar. My breath caught. I hadn't seen this before. I crouched down and looked inside. It led to a narrow staircase spiraling down into darkness. I hesitated. My instincts screamed at me to leave. This felt wrong. But the gallery had become a strange siren. I had to know what lay below. Gathering my courage, I reached for my phone, using its light to illuminate the way. The steps creaked under my weight, and I felt a chill brush against my skin. The air grew colder with each step. Deep down, I sensed that whatever was down there could change everything. I descended slowly, my heart racing. As I reached the bottom, I was met by a small room lined with canvases. They were covered in more of those wild, chaotic brushstrokes. A strange energy hummed in the air, and I could almost hear whispering in the background a mixture of laughter and cries. That's when I saw it. A painting hanging crookedly on the far wall, the subject unmistakably familiar. It was a distorted version of me, the features exaggerated and twisted, my mouth stretched into a grotesque grin. My breath caught in my throat. Before I could turn away, I noticed a flicker by the canvas. I stepped closer, and suddenly, the laughter erupted again, louder this time, almost alive. I stumbled back, bumping into a stack of canvases that teetered dangerously. They crashed to the ground, dust exploding into the air. In that moment, I realized I was not alone. Shadows swirled around me, and I felt a presence, cold and hungry. It wanted something, but what? I stood frozen, heart racing, caught between flight and the desperate need to understand. Then the laughter turned to something else, a low growl that filled the room. My instinct kicked in, and I bolted for the staircase, the presence hot on my heels. I had to get out. I couldn't let the gallery claim me too. I ran up the stairs, each step seeming to echo my panic. I could feel the presence behind me, a cold breath against my neck, urging me to move faster. I reached the top and shoved the door open with all my strength. It scraped against the floor, and I stumbled out into the main gallery, gasping for air. The laughter faded, but my heart still pounded in my chest. I pressed my back against the wall, trying to catch my breath. My mind raced with what I had just experienced. What was that thing? And how had it become so intertwined with the paintings? I needed answers, but my hands trembled too much to draw. As I steadied myself, I glanced around the gallery, searching for anything normal, anything familiar. But the shadows clung to every corner, and I felt as if they were watching me. I needed to leave, or at least figure out how I could escape this place for good. The paintings on the walls felt different now, like they were alive, watching, and waiting. I couldn't help but wonder if the one that had disturbed me was somehow connected to everything else. Maybe someone had created it intentionally, or perhaps it was a warning. Then I remembered as I stood there, the laughter again echoed in my mind, sharp and piercing. It forced me to think about the others, the people I had seen during my last visit. They seemed so caught up in the art, unbothered by the strangeness around them. Were they still in the gallery? Or had they also felt the urge to flee? I glanced back towards the narrow staircase, the darkness below still beckoning. Curiosity warred with fear in my mind. Whether I wanted to admit it or not, I was drawn to the chaos beneath. That paint-smeared version of me haunted my thoughts. I had to know what it meant. Taking a deep breath, I turned back and slowly made my way to the door. As I stepped outside, a chill washed over me again. The air felt dense, as if the gallery was angry I had left. Worry seeped in. What if I didn't understand it? What if returning only made things worse? But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was meant to discover the truth. I needed help, someone who might understand this chilling pull. There's a local artist I knew, someone I had bumped into at that same gallery last summer. He was enigmatic, obsessed with the bizarre and the grotesque. Maybe he had the answers. I started walking quickly, using the fading light to guide me. The street felt eerily quiet. The shadow of the gallery loomed behind me, reminding me I couldn't run forever. That's when I heard it again. A low growl, now more pronounced. It came from somewhere close, just outside of my view. My heart hammered again, and I felt prickles of fear crawl up my spine. Someone or something was larger than shadow and wasn't keen on losing me just yet. I turned back, ready to face whatever was lurking. I had to find out who or what was in the dark, waiting for me. I stood frozen, heart racing. The growl hung in the air, a warning and a threat. Whoever or whatever was in that shadow was clearly hunting. I took a shaky step back, but I knew I couldn't just stand there. I had to keep moving. I turned away from the haunting darkness and darted down the street, glancing over my shoulder every few seconds. That noise could easily follow me, I felt it in my bones. I pushed through a tangle of thoughts, trying to remember the way to the local artist's studio. The streetlights flickered on, throwing odd shapes against the pavement. I was desperate for the artist's familiarity, a haven from the chaos. As I hurried along, I allowed my mind to wander back to the gallery, and to that twisted painting, the one that had whispered so many secrets. I could still picture those empty eyes staring into my soul. The artist's studio was just around the corner, but I almost tripped at the sight of it. His door was ajar, swinging slightly in the breeze. Instantly, a knot formed in my stomach. Had someone else come here? Was I too late? Hello? I called out, my voice shaking. No response. The silence pressed against me, heavy like a blanket. I clenched my fists and stepped inside, the floor creaking beneath me. The studio was filled with canvases, some grotesque, others strangely beautiful. Paint splatters adorned the floor, resembling the chaos swirling in my mind. I slowly walked deeper, my senses heightened. I felt the presence of another being, but there was no one there. Suddenly, a flash of color caught my eye. I turned to find a painting propped against the wall. It was new, vibrant, and the subject made my heart plummet. It was a familiar figure, a wild-eyed version of me, caught mid-scream, rendered in swirling strokes of red and black. My stomach churned. The growl I'd heard earlier echoed in the back of my mind. My breath quickened. I needed to know if the artist had painted this. I called out for him again, louder this time. Are you here? Just then, the door slammed shut behind me. Panic shot through me. I rushed back, but it wouldn't budge. I was trapped. Come on! I shouted, rattling the doorknob in desperation. Help! As if in response to my cries, I heard soft footsteps approaching. My heart raced as the shadows shifted in the corner of the room. That's when I saw him. The artist emerged, his eyes dark like the paintings that surrounded us. A chilling smile spread across his face, one that didn't reach his eyes. I see you found my latest work, he said, voice low and smooth. It's quite evocative, wouldn't you agree? I backed away, suddenly feeling small and vulnerable. What have you done? I stammered, unable to keep the fear from my voice. His grin widened. Oh, dear. I haven't done anything yet. But I think you'll soon discover how deeply you belong in this world. Before I could respond, the shadows around him began to swirl, and the air felt electric, almost alive. My instincts screamed that I needed to escape, but something deeper held me there, drawing me closer to that sinister painting. And then I realized maybe this was just the beginning. My body tensed as I watched the artist. He stood before me, a twisted maestro in a gallery of horrors. I could feel the energy in the room shift, growing heavier as the shadows danced. I still couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was about to unfold. Are you going to paint me too? I blurted out, my voice shaking more than I intended. I wanted to buy myself time to think, to plan an escape. His laugh echoed, a hollow sound that sent chills down my spine. Oh, my dear. That's precisely the idea. He stepped closer, his eyes glimmering with an unsettling light. Art is not just about capturing moments, it's about revealing the truth hidden beneath the surface. And you're utterly captivating. I stumbled backward, desperate for distance, but I hit the wall. The only way out was still that door, firmly closed. Panic tightened my chest. "You don't have to do this," I pleaded, my voice tinged with desperation. He paused, pretending to consider. "You think this is about me? Think again. It's about what lies beneath your skin." He gestured to the painting of me, its furious strokes mimicking the turmoil stirring inside me. "This is just the surface of your truth. There's a darker, more primal energy within you, waiting to be unleashed." My heart raced as the intensity of his gaze made my thoughts scatter. I needed clarity. "What do you want from me?" I managed to ask. "To show you." His voice turned melodic, oddly soothing. "To bring out the artist in you, whether you like it or not." The shadows shifted again, swirling around him like a cloak. I felt their pull, an invitation to step further into that dark embrace. There was no way I could let him control me. It was time to fight back. I drew a deep breath and scanned the studio for anything I could use. Paintbrushes, shattered glass, anything. But the room felt alive in a way I couldn't understand. There was weight to the air, and the painting seemed to watch all those eyes staring straight at me. "Art is a process of transformation," he mused, taking a step toward me. "Embrace it." That's when I noticed something behind him, a canvas hidden amongst the shadows. I leaned forward. The edges glowed faintly, almost inviting. Then it hit me, a sudden realization sparked in my mind. Wait. What if I don't embrace it? What if I resist? His smile faltered for a moment, and anger flashed in his eyes. "You think you can escape your truth? You underestimate the power of art." I needed more time. Without thinking, I lunged toward the mysterious canvas, reaching for it, desperate to break this cycle. My fingers brushed the surface, and a surge of energy coursed through me, pulling me into the depth of its colors. Then everything went dark. The studio vanished, and I was engulfed in a whirlwind of chaotic shades, swirling like the paint on the gallery floor. I gasped, the air thick with a chilling essence. It was the same essence from the growl I'd heard earlier. And suddenly, I wasn't alone anymore. I felt eyes watching me far more than just the painted ones. Something was waiting, lurking just out of sight. I turned, terrified, and prepared to face whatever had followed me into the darkness. I couldn't see anything in the darkness. My heart pounded in my chest, each thump a reminder that I was still alive, but I was also utterly lost. The air felt thick, like I was wading through molasses. And those eyes, there were too many, all of them fixated on me. "Who's there?" I whispered, my voice barely cutting through the oppressive silence. A moment of stillness passed, and then I heard it, a low, eerie chuckle that echoed all around me. It crawled into my ears and made my skin crawl. I squinted into the dark, trying to make out shapes or forms, but nothing came into view. All I could do was listen. The laughter came again, this time closer, ringing with a twisted sense of joy. It felt mocking, as if I were the punchline to some dreadful joke. I swallowed hard. Whatever stalked me in this void was enjoying my fear. I took a cautious step back, my foot meeting something soft and yielding. Panic surged through me as I bent down to feel the ground. It was paint thick, wet paint, and the sensation made me recoil. How much of it was there? How deep did it go? Then, as if in response to my thoughts, the ground beneath me shuddered. The colors swirled violently, and I lost my balance, tumbling into the abyss. I braced myself for impact, but instead of hitting solid ground, I fell through a shimmering light. The colors erupted around me, and suddenly I was in another scene. I found myself in a dimly lit room, walls covered in canvases. Each one portrayed scenes of chaos, dark figures reaching out as if to grasp something unseen. My breath hitched as I recognized one of the figures, a faceless silhouette that resembled the artist from the gallery. "What is this place?" I murmured, awe and dread battling within me. Just then, I spotted something glimmering at the center of the room. A palette, caked thick with colors from every hue imaginable. Each color seemed to pulsate with a life of its own. I reached for it, my fingers itching to touch the vibrant paints. Was this the key to turning the tide? But before I could grasp it, the laughter returned. It was louder now, echoing through the room, raw and powerful, vibrating through my bones. I froze, rooted to the spot, feeling the familiar dread wash over me. Do you wish to create? A voice taunted, smooth as silk yet laced with malice. Or will you remain a mere observer? Stop it. I shouted back, my voice firmer than I felt. I am not your puppet. The laughter faded, replaced by a stillness that pressed upon me. It felt like a test. If I could just grab the palette, perhaps I could wield the colors to fight back. But even as I reached out, something in the air shifted. A shadow loomed behind me, and I turned just in time to see a massive hand reaching for me, its fingers twisted and tar-like, dripping with ink. I froze again, panic flooding my system. I understood now. The darkness wasn't just lurking, it was hungry, and it wanted to consume me. As the shadow closed in, I realized the only way forward was to take control. I lunged for the palette just as the hand descended. My fingers brushed against its surface, and suddenly, a surge of warmth flooded through me, filling the cold emptiness inside. That warmth spread rapidly, illuminating the dark room. I could feel power gathering, a force melding with my intentions. But would it be enough to fend off the shadow? Then the grip of the darkness tightened. I gasped as the shadow spiraled closer, enveloping me in its maw. I would either embrace the chaos or be swallowed whole. I embraced the palette, and in an instant, the warm color seeped into my skin like sunlight bursting through cloud cover. I felt alive, teeming with potential. Strength surged through me, and I focused on the shadows trying to consume me. Get away! I shouted, thrusting my other hand forward as if to push the darkness back. To my surprise, bursts of color erupted from my fingers, vivid strokes of paint filled the air, colliding with the encroaching shadow. For a moment, the darkness recoiled. I could see glimmers of light inside it, trapped, like fireflies caught in a net. The laughter broke, followed by a hissing sound, as if the air itself were gasping. I relished that brief victory but knew it wasn't enough. The shadows twisted, reforming and advancing again. Desperately, I concentrated harder, pouring my emotions into every brushstroke of light. Memories and feelings rushed through me, fear, doubt, but also determination. I thought of freedom, of creating something beautiful in this chaos. Each brush of vibrant color I cast sent shocks through the dark mass. It jerked and pulsed, an anguished scream echoing around me, blending into a cacophony of rage and terror. But I didn't stop. I fought harder. Then I noticed something. The palette began to change. Colors flickered and sparkled before my eyes, reshaping themselves into images of faces, places, memories I had buried deep. Each image pulled at my heartstrings, and it was then that I realized they were connected. They weren't just remnants of my past but were tied to the shadow's energy as well. In this moment of clarity, I understood the old canvas hanging on the wall. It wasn't a mere depiction of chaos, it was a reflection of fear shared, a culmination of anguish from countless others like me. The hand of the shadow lunged forward again, this time its fingers darting, not like a predator but like a desperate grasp for escape. I seized the opportunity. You don't own me. I shouted and unleashed my fury, transforming the air into a riot of colors, swirling around me, forming a protective barrier. But something unexpected happened. The colors, instead of pushing the shadow away, began to merge with it, creating a bizarre mix of light and dark. I could feel it, a strange pulse of life connecting us. It was no longer a mere predator but something I could understand, a reflection of fear, pain, and unfulfilled dreams. Wait, I breathed, hesitating. What if this shadow wasn't only malevolent? What if it was a part of me as well? Before I could ponder further, another figure emerged from the swirling chaos. It was the artist, a dark silhouette, eyes swirling like the shadow itself. "You cannot escape the truth," the voice echoed. "It is the chaos that gives rise to creation." My heart raced. "What do you mean?" As if sensing my vulnerability, he grinned wider, and it made my stomach twist. "Accept the darkness. Only then will you unleash true power." I staggered back. The palette felt heavy in my hand. Was I ready to embrace the chaos within, or was it a trap set by a trickster? In that moment of uncertainty, the shadow reached out again, not in torment, but in a plea. It wanted to connect, to create something new. Suddenly, the vibrant colors around me flickered, and I sensed the urgency rising. I realized I had a choice to make. The shadows were waiting. Would I dare to intertwine with them? Before I could respond, the room began to dissolve again, the edges blurring. I clutched the palette tighter, feeling the weight of destiny resting upon me. I had no time left, and that shadow was beckoning me closer. Whatever lay ahead, I had to prepare myself for the leap into that uncertain dark. I was falling. The ground melted away beneath me, colors swirling into a vortex. The palette slipped from my fingers, and I reached for it instinctively. As it dangled, the air filled with the muffled laughter of the shadow, a strange symphony swirling around me. It was both unsettling and oddly familiar. The darkness closed in, but now, fragments of light danced like confetti on the edges. They beckoned, promising comfort in the chaos. I thought I saw memories within the twinkling colors, faces of friends, moments of joy splashed with the heavy brush of sadness. "What is happening?" I shouted, but my voice echoed back, hollow, swallowed by the abyss. Then I landed with a sudden thud, the impact jarring me back to reality. I was no longer in the gallery but in a room filled with canvases. The atmosphere was charged with energy, colors pulsating on the walls, chaotic yet vibrant. It felt alive. Before I had time to process that, I noticed the shadows shifting, forming into shapes I thought I recognized, figures I'd encountered before. They reached out, not in malice but in desperation. "Please," a whisper floated through the air, clear yet trembling. I turned to find a girl standing at the edge of my vision, her features flickering like a glitch in a painting. "We need you to finish it," she pleaded, glancing warily at the shadow looming behind her. "What do you want me to finish?" I asked, stepping closer. But as I approached, the room tightened around me, and the shadows responded, roiling, dark and tense. The laughter morphed into an unsettling chime, wrapping around me like a cloak. "You can't escape this," the artist's voice echoed in my mind, taunting. "You have to understand, the darkness is not just an enemy, it is a part of you." The girl's face shifted, morphing into the outlines of others I had lost, friends, family, faces that stood in the way of my growth. Their pain lay before me, tangible and raw. "You have to accept us," she said, and my chest tightened. I felt the weight of their anguish, a tidal wave crashing against the shore of my resolve. A shiver ran down my spine. But how? My throat felt dry, the question more than just words. It was a plea for understanding. "By letting go," she whispered, stepping back into the swirl of shadows. I wanted to call her back, to clutch her hand, but the moment slipped away like sand. Then everything changed again. The colors trembled, and the shadows twisted into a massive form, an amassing beast of hues and whispers. I stumbled back. "No, I want to let you consume me," I shouted, feeling my heartbeat thunder in my ears. But the shadows answered with a low growl, their laughter morphing into a sinister chorus. Then everything began to distill into darkness. I was losing myself. That's when I saw it, a thin line of light cutting through the shadows, illuminating a blank canvas propped against the far wall. There was something written on it, a word I had forgotten, a connection between us, a revelation. I needed to know what it was, but the shadows shifted, blocking my path. They weren't done with me yet. "Choose," they hissed as the air thickened, each passing moment raising the stakes. I had to face the chaos. Would I dare push through the darkness to find the light? The answer awaited me, but I couldn't stand there forever. I took a deep breath and focused on that thin line of light. The shadows recoiled, their black tendrils hesitating as if sensing my resolve. I felt a rush of adrenaline. This was my moment. I had to break free from their clutches. With every ounce of strength, I sprinted toward the canvas. The shadows screamed in protest, swirling around me like a storm. "You can't escape!" they shouted, their voices echoing off the walls. I could almost feel their cold fingers amid the darkness, grasping at my ankles, trying to pull me back. But I wouldn't let them. Not now. As I reached the canvas, I squinted at the writing. It was dim, the letters flickering like a candle fought by a wind. I stepped closer, heart racing. The word was courage. A simple word, yet it resonated deeply. It was a reminder, not just a call to action, but a pact with my own fears. With renewed strength, I grabbed the edge of the canvas. I could feel the power radiating from it, pushing back against the shadows. They were angry now, roaring, their laughter discordant and wild. "You don't belong here," they screeched, scrambling to engulf me once more. The ground beneath me trembled, shifting as if the room itself were a canvas of its own, unsteady and unpredictable. I held on tightly, determined not to let them win. "I am not afraid of you," I shouted, raising my voice to be heard above their chaos. "Courage." I repeated the word like a mantra, my fist tightening around the canvas. The shadows paused for a split second, as if caught off guard. I seized that moment, my courage igniting a spark. I pressed the blank canvas against my chest, letting its energy flow into me. Suddenly, the figures that had once surrounded me shifted again, this time with a flicker of hope in their eyes. The girl's face emerged clearly from the shadows. "You're not alone," she said softly. "Trust in the light." I glanced back at the looming mass of darkness. It was shifting impatiently, gathering to reclaim its territory. The laughter transformed into furious screams. "No!" Then, instinct pulled me toward the light streaming from the canvas. I lunged forward, hoping against hope that it would break the hold of the shadows. The moment I touched its surface, the roar intensified, drowning out everything else. My vision blurred as light exploded around me, brighter than the sun. It enveloped me, washing away the darkness in a sweep of colors. But just as quickly, I felt a sharp pang of resistance tugging at my mind. The shadows weren't ready to let go. They were fighting back. In that blinding light, a new shape emerged. It was hazy at first, but as I focused, it became clearer. It was the artist, the man from the gallery, watching me with a knowing smile. "Finish what you started," he urged, and his voice was like a gentle breeze. But then everything went dim. The colors faded, and the shadows rushed in. My heart sank as I was yanked away from the canvas, the light receding. I was back where I started, but now the shadows had a plan. They coiled around me tighter, and a new fear gripped my heart. I felt like I was losing time. Where was the girl? The canvas? The artist? I struggled against the growing weight, knowing that this fight was far from over. The darkness pulsed around me, heavier than ever, breathing in my fear. I could feel the familiar laughter lurking just out of reach. It was in the air, in the shadows, all around me. With each breath, the chaos heightened, threatening to smother me. My heart raced, and my instincts screamed for escape. Yet every flicker of the shadows felt like they were pulling me closer, tempting me to succumb. I forced myself to focus. There was power in the light, and I wasn't ready to let it slip away. I had confronted the darkness before. I had almost reached the truth. I remembered the words from the canvas, courage. The lesson felt like a lifeline in this oppressive abyss. I needed to find it again. As I concentrated, the shadows shifted, swirling and writhing with a restless energy. "You are nothing," they howled, a cacophony rising in volume. "You can't fight us. You are lost." The growls echoed in my ears, mocking me, taunting me. I want to let you control me. My voice broke through the darkness, and in that moment, I sensed a change. The shadows recoiled slightly, as if my words had momentarily pierced through their smog. Maybe, just maybe, I could use it against them. I closed my eyes, recalling the warmth of the palette, the vibrant colors I had felt before. I exhaled deeply and visualized those colors exploding back to life, a riot of reds, blues, and yellows pouring forth like a burst of sunlight. I felt a surge of cool power, igniting deep inside. I am not just a spectator. I create. I shouted, grounding myself in that thought. Each breath brought forth more defiance. The shadows around me snarled, and I felt their energy clashing against my own. In response to my resolve, colorful bursts shot from my fingertips, splashing against the encroaching darkness. Brilliant flowers bloomed in a cascade of colors, bright and cheerful against the grim backdrop. The laughter turned into frantic shrieks, and the shadows recoiled with every stroke of light I projected. I painted a vivid picture in my mind of light crushing the night, of joy defeating despair. Where my fear once resided, I now embraced the beauty of letting go. But then the figure emerged again, the artist, grinning wickedly, his presence suffocating. He reached out with long fingers, beckoning me. You think you can defeat the shadows? They are part of you. Embrace them. His voice slithered through the chaotic scene, wrapping around my mind like an echo of doubt. Get away. I shouted, summoning the strength of every ounce of courage. You're a part of this darkness, but not all of it. That was the key. In acknowledging the pain without succumbing to it, I set both sides free. I needed to blend light and dark, to complete the canvas of my reality. I took another deep breath, focusing on the swirling energies, allowing my soul to cry out for balance. Suddenly, the air exploded around me, colors clashed with shadows in a vibrant spectacle, a storm of emotions swirling like a hurricane. The artist's grin faltered as tentacles of darkness reached outward, but now they were met with a palette of colors that latched onto them, each distortion reflecting fragments of truth buried deep within me. Help me find you, I whispered, reaching for the spirits I had encountered before, the girl, the faces from my past. Help me connect everything. Their forms flickered momentarily, fusing with the light and darkness, and for an instant, I felt them pushing through the chaos, encouraging me, amplifying my resolve. I painted a new picture, splashing across the canvas of my mind with bold strokes of brightness and shadow, intertwining them until I found balance. The laughter morphed into something else, a hum, a collective sigh. The energy shifted, and suddenly, the dark mass thinned, pulling away as the shadow fiend was torn between opposing forces. The colors erupted, drowning the darkness in surges of luminescence, pushing back, forcing it to retreat. I opened my eyes, filled with newfound clarity. The artist writhed in frustration, and I glimpsed something monstrous in his reflection, but I no longer felt fear. Instead, I felt resolution. You're just a shadow too, an echo of your own chaos. With that proclamation, I closed my eyes again. I whipped my hands outward, projecting a final burst of warmth. The darkness faltered, hesitated, before it began to dissolve, enmeshed in the colors of my creation, surrendering to the light. It melted away, swirling and becoming indistinguishable from the canvas of swirling colors, the air becoming lighter as the remnants of chaos faded into vibrant harmony. The laughter faded to silence, replaced by echoes of a new energy and assurance that the shadows wouldn't disappear, but they could coexist with the light. As I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in the artist's studio, canvases glowing with energy that felt alive, breathing. I'd escaped the darkness, but I could still feel it, simmering just outside. Would it ever leave me completely? The thought lingered, but somehow, it didn't frighten me anymore. I stepped forward, heart still pounding but with a newfound courage that thrummed beneath my skin. I will create, I whispered to the canvases, the colors vibrant in the light. Whatever lay ahead wouldn't be defined by fear but rather embraced through curiosity, exploration, and even chaos. Leaving the studio, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the glass door. I almost didn't recognize myself. I had faced the darkness within, but there were still echoes of the unknown left to explore. I moved forward, embarking on a new journey not without shadows, but filled with colors vibrant enough to illuminate everything ahead. I stepped out into the crisp night, allowing the cool air to wash over me. The world was filled with possibility, and even though I couldn't shake the feeling that something still lurked just out of view, I knew I had the capacity to face it. I didn't need all the answers now, I only needed to keep moving forward. And, as I glanced back one last time at the studio, I wondered if the laughter would ever return. Or if the shadows would forever remain coiled, waiting for the opportunity when I dared to step back inside. But for now, I was ready to embrace all that life still had to offer.